All right. So before we were talking about proof of concept, as you know, once you get leverage, you can then use it to get new things and so on. And I wanted you guys to get excited about the possibilities on why we're even doing all this stuff in the first place. It's to build leverage, right? And to take back power, so then you can get rid of gatekeeping for everyone. So you can do things in your own term, right? So now that you understand that, you can now see how the next process we really want is moving towards getting shows, content, and audience. So we got the content strategy, we got shows, and growing the audience, right? So that's the next stage. And then beyond that, once we have those things, we're then going to be focusing on things such as personal brand. And I'll give you a rundown on how this all makes sense. And then after you have personal brand, you have cult, community. So this is what basically makes up like a touring artist, like how you get there. And I'll show you how this all links up in terms of examples. So let's say we're just going to go over, I don't know, some dubstep examples here, because most students in industry set are kind of more bass orientated. So I'll just pick some examples that everybody knows that are quite common. So example, let's say somebody who is kind of got proof of concept, but they're kind of working on like growing their shows, content, and audience. This is like a previous student of mine, Jaqui. He's kind of at the point where he's already got the proof of concept, he's doing good, but he's getting shows and whatnot, and he's growing his audience, but he's kind of lacking to get to the next echelon. And so there's a couple of steps missing, right? So same thing below this. Let's say it's you, right? Let's say you've just gotten proof of concept, right? Your music's good now, and you're trying to grow it. And so now getting to the content, shows, audience phase, right? And you're growing the brand, playing lots of shows, growing your audience, yada yada. Where most people get stuck is that they don't have a personal brand. So what separates, let's say, Jaqui from somebody like Sullivan King? For those who don't know, Sullivan King, he's like this really loudmouth rocker and personality, but he's like a dubstep artist, but he's also like, he embodies, I guess, like a guitarist from like a metal band, right? That's like a punk rocker, whatever. So like long hair, screams a lot, goes crazy, yada yada. So that's his personal brand. And so a personal brand is what separates you from the rest in terms of like the brand itself. Because if you're just posting about like artwork, your visuals, the show you just played and what you're working on, that's great. But if everybody's doing the exact same thing, you don't stand out. Like you sound like everybody else and you look like everybody else. So like it's already hard enough to stand out musically wise. Like if you want to stand out in terms of the actual overall brand, you need to have a personal brand for people to connect with, because people can't identify with you when you're talking about like sidechain compression. Like most of your audience are not producers, so they need to have something they can relate to. An example being is, let's say the artist Blank, before he blew up, he was posting of himself in his garden like every single day, updating his followers on how his plants were growing. And he'd just be like having a narrative like, oh yeah, and this is Jamie, and he's grown this a little bit much, and then over here is Oliver, and like trying to grow him, but he's like lacking a little bit of water. And so for me personally, like I wouldn't find that interesting. So there's obviously a lot of people who are into plants that would find it interesting, or they can relate to it and be like, oh yeah, I grow plants too, cool. I feel like connected to this guy because like he makes the same kind of music that I'm into, but he also like is into plants. Like I feel like I know this guy and I see myself in him, so, or I want to be like him. So, and that's what like having a personal brand is all about. Like your audience is allowed to connect with you on a deeper level. And so if you don't have that, you're missing out on a big piece of the puzzle, is having a personal brand. Now the next phase is cult community. And so let's say, for example, this is guys like Excision, or like Subtronics, or let's say like Rez, for example, right? So you got to ask yourself, what do these characters all embody? They embody a stereotype, like a type of person, an archetype. Excision, for example, he represents like all the ravers basically into dubstep. Like he's the embodiment of that. So people all want to be a part of that community of like headbangers, right? And they want to go to the festivals. They want to feel inclusive of this like whole family of people, right? That's the whole thing. Subtronics embodies all the stoners and wooks. Like people, like when he used to smoke like a lot, he would be on his like live stream stories on Instagram constantly smoking weed, and so he embodies that archetype, right? So that's what people can relate to. They people who are into that kind of thing and they dress like him and they smoke as much as him. Those are the people that see themselves in him and want to be like him. And so that's the connection that they have, and that's what builds like a cult like following, is people being able to connect to the brand in that same way, not just through the music and the visuals and the story, the narrative, but also through the personality that you have. Now, personal branding is something that isn't easily made. It's something that we will work on over time and get you to develop that. So you'll be able to get excited and feel confident that what you do put out there, you're not going to feel cringe about it. You're going to be excited that you can finally be seen for you for the first time over social media. And a lot of us, the reason why we don't have personal brands is because we fear being seen for who we actually are. But personal brand is all about showing who you are, so then people can like actually identify and connect with you. But I digress. We can get into that in the program. Another example is Rez, or like when at her shows, everyone's wearing those glasses. Like that's the cult-like community. It's she's created this entire cult, literally, right? People all wearing the same thing as her, right? Same thing with Alice in Wonderland. I mean, her fan base is like Taylor Swift fans. Like there is girls that are literally breaking down crying when they see her performing. So that's like all the cult-like community stuff. I'll give you some more examples of the personal brand one, those who aren't into dubstep. Like let's say Deadmau5. Like Deadmau5 isn't actually like how he is on socials. Like he obviously over-exaggerates it a little bit, but that's his personal brand, and he knows it. He knows what he's doing. Being the angsty, boomer dad guy who's like, kind of toxic and like hates everything that's going on in the world and hates how the music industry is changing, and being very vocal about it on Twitter, and like kind of starting like kind of like semi-fake beef and whatnot. That's a personal brand. There's plenty of other artists that are really good at it as well. Like Odd Prophet, for example, he's great at embodying the same kind of personality, and he's actually not like mean and toxic like that. He's actually like really nice, but he's embodying a character and he does it really well. I'd say he's fantastic at it actually. So like a lot of these guys, the ones who are very smart about what they're doing, they're actually just really good at personal branding. So another example is Dylan Francis. Like I can't remember the last time I listened to his music. I just know him now as like a living meme. So start assessing when you're seeing other brands. Take a little look into that, right, of what's actually going on. So this is the whole purpose of why we're doing all these things. Like this is why you need all these different things, and that's why you can't even start doing any of this stuff if you don't have your production under wraps. And so that's why we have 2 whole semesters of just making sure that you're undeniable as a producer before you even worrying about all this stuff. Because you do not want to worry about all this stuff while you're still juggling production and you're like, oh, it takes me months at a time to finish another song and I've only got 2 songs left in the bank. Your competition has like 20, 30 songs in the bank stockpiled, and they're able to make a new song in a couple of days that is high quality, mixed and mastered all by themselves, and they have now the bandwidth to just bust out tons of content every day if they wanted to for videos. They can send out their music to multiple labels, to artists, to get their plays out, and so they are not only undeniable, but they are unstoppable. And so that's why I'm explaining all this stuff, so then you know why you're even doing all this stuff in the first place. Because like I can give you the keys to the kingdom in terms of what you need to do, but if you don't understand why we're doing all this like hard stuff to get to this point and how it all interlinks and what's actually possible, then you're not going to give it your absolute all. So I think that's why it's really important for me to not only tell you how to get to this place, and that's what we'll do in this program over the next 12 months working together, but you also have to understand why it's all so essential. Like every step is important. Everything that you do in every single semester is all playing a part to getting to this point. And so this is why we have so many results in Industry Set, is because we're so damn specific about building high quality brands that are world class and getting those results, because all we have to do is get really good results. We post it online, people see it and they go, I want that result too, and then they join based on that. So we don't try to get as many eyeballs as possible on Industry Set. We just try to focus on just attracting like high quality people who we think are going to work hard enough to get to where they need to be, and then we're just going to show them how to do it and give them the resources to do that. So that's all we're trying to do, and that's why I provide as much of this stuff as possible in terms of what you really need to do is just get the reps in and make sure that you're undeniable as a producer. And then once you have that proof of concept, only then can you worry about the marketing and growing the brand.